Right, so eat out to help out. We remember that one, don't we? Don't worry about COVID. We need to get the country moving again. So here's some cash in your pocket to go and support ailing restaurants. The brainchild of then Chancellor of the Exchequer and now Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, of course. It ran during August of 2020, covering half the cost of food and non-alcoholic drinks for an unlimited number of visits to participating restaurants on Mondays to Wednesdays, up to £10 per person per visit. The policy ended up covering half the price of some 160 million meals, costing £849 million. But that, of course, is the crude financial cost. It was nothing on the human cost that ensued as a result of it. In 2020, Sunak told Sky News, a very small percentage of hospitality being a cause of transmission. I think one thing we know is, and I speak to our scientists every day, it's very difficult at such a granular level to pinpoint the cause of transmission. And during one daily COVID update, Sunak stood at the lectern that we became all so familiar with and told us all, at every point we have followed expert advice to be controlled in our actions, taking the right measures at the right time. Did you though, Rishi? Did you speak to the scientists? Did you do that every time? Did you always follow their advice? Did you really? You're a dirty little liar, aren't you, Rishi? You're so full of shit, you're on your fifth arsehole now, aren't you, Rishi? I'll come back to this in a moment. Sunak came up with this idea, eat out to help out, not with the health and well-being of the nation in mind. Thousands dead by this point. We're in the middle of 2020. We've come out of the first lockdown at this point. No vaccine, of course. And as much as causes of transmission were not known per se, human to human was pretty flaming obvious. Sunak saw people afraid to go out, saw the economy tanking as a result, and did this to get people out again and boost the economy. That was the only driver behind this. It was one of those Lord Farquaad moments from Shrek. Some of you may die, but that's a risk I'm willing to take, because the economy matters more to a more money man like Sunak than people's lives ever would. Within a week of Eat Out to Help Out commencing, areas that saw high take-up saw higher incidences of infection. Research by Warwick University indicated that within 2 weeks of the scheme ending, it may have been responsible for some 8 to 17% of all new infections of COVID. This tallied with the findings of Public Health England, that infections traced to food outlets across the same time period accounted for some 5 to 20% of all new infections at that time. The public health and other economic costs caused by this vastly outstripped any short-term boost Sunak had hoped for the economy. He was spectacularly stupid. He caused an explosion of cases that ended up costing the economy more, and he has blood on his hands for every life lost due to it. The leaked WhatsApps of the then Health Secretary Matt Hancock showed that the issues regarding Eat Out to Help Out were being felt when he messaged the Cabinet Office's Mr. Fixer, Simon Case, that blasted man again, saying, just want to let you know directly that we have had lots of feedback that Eat Out to Help Out is causing problems in our intervention areas. I've kept it out of the news, but it's serious. So please, let's not allow the economic success of the scheme lead to its extension. Case replied, have you told Rishi? I don't think he can afford to extend it. To which Hancock replied, yes, we've told the Treasury. We've been protecting them in the comms, and thankfully it hasn't bubbled up. They knew, in other words, yet let the scheme run its course instead of halting it, because they didn't want the bad press. By the beginning of September, cases were skyrocketing. By mid-September, the rule of 6 had come in, which we all had to abide by. And by October, we were in a second lockdown. Well done, Rishi. But now, and this might be a flavour of the reasoning behind Rishi Sunak's determination not to let Boris Johnson's WhatsApp diaries become public knowledge, because how much more to this might there be in those? It covers this period, after all. How much more damaging might it be to him, and what else might they contain? What we do know already about this has come from an Institute for Government report, saying that despite Sunak's claims to the media to have consulted sage scientists ahead of bringing in his Eat Out to Help Out scheme, he didn't at all. A plan described as epidemiologically, I can't say the blasted word, I knew I'd screw that up, epidemiologically illiterate by scientists and spectacularly stupid by sage scientist Professor John Edmonds, who also called the scheme an obscene way to waste public money. I'll get my words out in a minute. British Medical Association President Professor Martin McKee has called the government's approach to overlooking or dismissing or not even taking scientific advice as dysfunctional. He's far too polite. The 58-page IFG report states that A lack of joined-up thinking was most apparent as the UK exited the first lockdown over the summer. From May, the government encouraged people to return to offices and even travel abroad, while the Treasury, in particular, Sunak's department at the time, launched policies designed to encourage them to venture out and spend. These policies reflected changing political priorities, particularly of more hawkish cabinet members anxious to get the economy moving. But they were also based on an optimistic rather than a scientific assessment of the progression of the coronavirus at the time. As Rishi Sunak, the Chancellor, put it in the Commons on the 5th of November, the Treasury was confident that we could stay ahead of the virus. Money mattered more than lives to Sunak, a man that came in for particular criticism in this report. This is just the first indication of what could be in Johnson's materials, of course. Could be why a reputed six-figure sum of public money will be spent trying to hide what could be numerous COVID skeletons in Rishi Sunak's closet. A man who simply can't afford another scandal right now, let alone one that involves him directly. It is imperative we see that the COVID inquiry is everything. But each and every day that goes by, it seems to be Rishi Sunak with more and more to lose than Boris Johnson. The COVID cover-up, as it's being called, must be stopped. And after you've liked, shared and subscribed to the channel, the only one I know of mixing the news you don't get told in a straightforward manner with a tongue lashing capable of stripping paint, as so many of our politicians deserve. And of course, you can't wait for the next video where hopefully I will get my words out properly. Don't get too big-headed about it though, Damo. You'll no longer fit on camera. No fear of that. The kids are my biggest critics and humble me later. Anyway, in the meantime, you can watch this video here where Sunak and co are once more turning their sights on the disabled in need of a distraction again, as they are not interested in making life better for us, just hiding behind their own issues, behind another culture war. And I'll see you all on the next video, I hope. Cheers, folks.